Whether your intended output is EPUB, DPS, PDF, or any other kind of interactive document, it's usually a good idea to organize your content with layers. It takes a little time to set up and a little care to maintain, but in the long run, it'll help you avoid trouble and give you more flexibility. So let's take a look at how to organize layers in interactive documents. Now, I want to start by saying that while I do think it's a good idea to keep your documents structured with layers, you shouldn't go overboard creating tons of layers and overcomplicating things. In general, make your document as simple as possible to keep it easy to understand and use. In most cases, I like to start out with 5 layers: navigation, text, images, background, and guides. And if you have media like audio and video, you might want to add a layer for those. So in my document, I'll open the Layers panel, and right now I have Layer 1. I'll click on it to rename it, and I'll call it Guides. Now to create the second layer, I'll hold Option or Alt while I click on the button to get a new layer. This opens the New Layer dialog box, and I'll call this one Background. I'll repeat that process to create my other layers. I put navigation on top of everything else because this is the layer that'll hold things like buttons in an interactive PDF that will allow people to jump to different pages, and I never want those buttons to be covered up by other content. This is also a good place to put things like page numbers, logos, branding, or anything else that you want to be always visible on top of the main content. I'll also recommend that you go to the Layers panel menu and turn on Paste Remembers Layers. With this selected, you can copy and paste objects and they'll stay on their current layer, regardless of what layer is selected in the Layers panel. Otherwise, content gets pasted on the currently selected layer, which makes it easier to accidentally paste items where they don't belong. For interactive documents, the Layers panel can also be handy for moving content into or out of button states and object states. I'll switch over to this other document where I've placed some images and created a button and a multi-state object. Right here is my button, and I can look in the Layers panel in Navigation, and it's called Ru Button. I'll tip it open. I can see the normal state is showing right now, and within the normal state, there are 2 images. And if I wanted to add a third image, I can drag this one and drop it inside the normal button state. And you can tell by the highlighting that goes around the button that the new image has been included. If later I wanted to take it out, I could just drag it back out. Now it's not part of the button anymore. We can do something similar with multi-state objects. So down here, this is a multi-state object. It's called Ru MSO. State 1 is showing, and right now, there's just one photograph showing in state 1, but I could select this photograph and drag it into state 1. I just have to make sure that line that appears while I drag is indented to the same level as the photo in that state. I'll deselect, and now I can confirm this by going to my Object States panel and looking at the different states. There's state 2, and here's state 1 with the photo that I just dragged in. In this movie, we saw how you can structure your documents with a consistent set of layers, which can make them more organized and easier to work with in the long run. And we saw some tips for using the Layers panel to move items into and out of buttons and multi-state objects.